Hello and welcome to Arts 24's weekly music show with me, Marjorie Hache. I'm delighted to welcome an up-and-coming British singer-songwriter who's been dubbed London's goth superstar in the making. Josephine Orme, aka Heartworms, recently toured with acts like The Kills and St Vincent and is set to release her debut album Glutton For Punishment on February 7th. Featuring industrial electronic sounds and post-punk riffs, it's an album in which she contrasts themes such as love and rejection. Heartworms, thank you so much for coming on France 24.
Thank you.
Now, first off, I have to ask you how you picked your stage name, because short of showing viewers what Heartworms are, which I believe are a form of parasite that invade dogs, amongst others. How did you come up with that idea?
So I chose it before I knew it was a disease. My favourite band, one of my favourite bands, The Shins, I was listening to so much when I was at school. I wasn't doing my GCSEs, so I kind of got into, I typed in indie rock bands on YouTube and it came up with The Shins, and I became completely obsessed. So they released an album called Heartworms further down the line, I think it's maybe one of their most recent ones. And then from then I was like, I love that name. It's really cool. It's fun and dark.
Yeah. And I love how bands pay tribute to bands they like by taking names of their songs. You're not the first to do that, and I think that's a great one for you. Now, you taught yourself to play guitar when you were 14.
Yes,
after being
a little bit earlier, actually.
A little bit earlier.
Yeah, like 12.
And it's because your mum grounded you initially. That's when you really got into it.
Yeah.
For a year she grounded, which is very excessive. But I have to I have to ask you, there's a lot of preconceived ideas about what goth and goth music is. What is it to you?
Goth to me generally isn't to do specifically with music. I feel a goth artist should have, people think they should have inspiration from a gothic musician, which is, most of the time true. But for me, it's, gothic literature, gothic architecture, or gothic paintings, all these things that play in my music. And I feel as if my lyrics are a form of a gothic architecture because of the sadness within them. Goth isn't anger, it's actually the sadness before it. And I feel, punk is anger. And the punk comes into my music when I'm screaming, I like to describe it as the gothic architecture, beautiful building, and then the paint that splatters on it is the punk, which is the anger forming together. So, but yeah, to me, goth doesn't have to be that kind of overly expressive anger that some might think, but also it's mainly the sadness and the beauty in the sadness and how important it is not to romanticize it, but to find meaning in it and why you are sad and
and the beauty of it.
The beauty of it, yeah. And like gothic is that. Edgar Allan Poe is such a good example that I love. The word punishment, which comes into my album, Glutton For Punishment, the word punishment is used in so much gothic literature as well. So yeah.
And also on the cover of your album, which we'll come back to in a second. There's a lot of visual, military visual, like actually just on you right now in the studio with your little pins. But I read that you were a military history geek, and you've got a particular passion for the famous Spitfire. And I wondered what you.
There it is.
Yeah, and I was wondering because yourself, you've said in interviews that you're anti-war. But what is it about the military that you find so attractive?
It's generally, I love dates and, the meaning behind a date. Spitfires, or aircraft especially, the kind of the art of war. In a way, there is always art everywhere, no matter what's happening or where you go. You can be anti-war, but also appreciate the art behind it. And then Spitfires really stuck with me when I learned about code breaking and Alan Turing, Bletchley Park. I was like, I really want to know more about machines and how they work. And even the shape of wings, and I love wings, angel wings, the word wings, it comes into a lot of what I talk about because it's such a beautiful biblical image, isn't it? And military history, for me, it's the kind of regimentness of it. I like my routines. I love the clothing because it's a way of a look that has to set an emotion and an impression, you know, and that's why me as Heartworms, I set such an impression with how I dress and how I stand on stage and eye contact.
Yeah. Well, in any case, on top of being a musician, you also volunteer at the Royal Air Force Museum in London, and a few of the tracks on your album refer to planes. Let's check out your latest music video. It's called Extraordinary Wings. A track you can find on Heartworms' debut album, which is called Glutton For Punishment, and it's Extraordinary Wings. Now, you actually wanted to be a music producer to start off with, but the environment that you were in, your classes were very male-dominated, and it was kind of off-putting for you because even though you were doing really well, it kind of scared you a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us, what was the kind of hindrance? What was the thing that would have helped to...
Probably, I mean, to be honest with you, how it all happened and how it managed to work out, I don't want to change anything because here I am now, you know, doing whatever I'm doing. But as an up-and-coming musician, and at that time, I had the opportunity to have a charity called The Music Works when I was living in the YMCA in Cheltenham. It was run by a guy called Malachi Patterson, and he helped young artists who couldn't afford, you know, I was so poor, I couldn't afford instruments, I couldn't afford anything. He helps you get, you know, taught how to produce and partners with you with people who want to do the same thing. And, you know, it's just kind of getting you into the scene without you having to give away who you are, exactly. And without that, I wouldn't have, you know, moved to London. I wouldn't have become what I've become now. So I really thank Malachi Patterson. And the YMCA, people who worked there really supported me too. But now, as a up-and-coming artist, before my debut album, I think it's always going to be a problem, but streaming. You know, we should be getting paid properly in streaming, and it's the money's going into the wrong hands. It's our art, it's our music, it's coming from our souls, and
you're not just content.
No, and you know, it shouldn't just be about money, but we have to make a living. Like, life is so expensive now, we can't
survive.
Can't survive.
Well, you might be interested in what's going on in the Netherlands this week. We're heading to Eurosonic and Noorderslag Festival, which has been founded in 1986 in Groningen. It's a 4-day event, and it's an ideal place to spot rising musicians from across Europe and to mingle in conferences. There's also the Music Moves Europe Award, which has been good at picking out the future stars of tomorrow, with nominees receiving €10,000 to put towards their careers, and winners getting additional funding. Now, past winners include Rosalia, Christine and the Queens, Stromae and Dua Lipa. Let's check out a little clip of last year's French nominee, Zao de Zagazan. And amongst this year's nominees at the Music Moves Europe Awards, we have France's Yamé and Spain's Judeline, who was recently on France 24 in Interview. Now, I've also got a little question about you touring, because you're going to be playing France on the 27th of February at La Route du Roc in Saint-Malo. On the 28th, you'll be in Caen. And on the 1st of March, you'll be at Le Petit Bain. How much do you enjoy playing on stage?
I enjoy it so much. You know, it's why I do what I do. So, yeah, I'm excited to be in front of the audience.
Oh, no, that's a very good thing to do. Now, there's another artist that you might be able to see soon. It's Colombian artist Ella Minus, who is set to release her new electro dance pop album, Dia, on the 17th of January. Born in Bogota, she was the drummer in a hardcore rock band in her teens before moving to the US to study at Boston's prestigious Berklee College of Music. She works predominantly with analog synthesizers and drum machines. And if you like Bjork and the Chemical Brothers, I'm sure you will love her. Here's her track, Upwards.
I try not to breathe, silently replaying the scene behind the veil. I see a scream behind the veil. My mind keeps trying to break me, but hell is hereditary. I choose the void instead. Can't trust myself. My mind keeps lying to me.
And you can catch Ella Minus supporting Caribou in Paris on the 3rd of February. Thank you, Josephine, aka Heartworms, for coming on the show. Just a reminder to check out her album that comes out on the 7th of February, Glutton for Punishment. Now, France 24's latest news bulletin is coming up in a couple of minutes, which gives us enough time to play out with Grammy-nominated US rapper Mac Miller, who passed away in 2018, aged 26, following an accidental drug overdose. This week, we'll see the release of a second posthumous album, which his estate have entitled Balloonerism. The tracks were recorded back in 2014 and will feature current music star Caesar and his many alter egos. Here's the title track.
It ain't about money. I can show you the world, girl. What can you do for me? We can take a vacation, go somewhere in the country. Turn the radio on, hear my song saying, whoa, my favorite song saying,